I should have been working. My boss was breathing down my neck about that quarterly report. But instead, I was glued to my phone, scrolling through something I should have never found. It started with a text. A buddy of mine, Mike, sent me a link with no context. Just the words, "Bro, WTF is this?" I clicked. The screen loaded, and my heart stopped. It was my wife, Jennifer, the woman I married, the woman I built a life with, the woman I thought I knew. But she wasn't just any woman in the video. She wasn't just cheating. She was starring in it. Professionally. Couldn't breathe. My fingers clenched the phone so tight I thought it would crack. My brain kept screaming, no, no, no. But the evidence was right there, playing out in sickening detail. I shut it off and threw my phone across the room like it burned me. It hit the wall with a dull thud and dropped to the carpet. I stared at it, heart hammering. This had to be a mistake. I stormed over, snatched up the phone, and forced myself to look again. No mistake. It was her. Jennifer. My wife. Her fake moans clawed into my ears. But the worst part? The expression on her face. She was enjoying it. Laughing. Flirting. Completely at ease in a way I hadn't seen in years. I felt like I was going to be sick. My stomach twisted, bile rising. How long had this been going on? How many times had I kissed her goodnight, told her I loved her, while she was out there doing this? I didn't even know who that guy was in the video, and I didn't care. He wasn't the real villain. She was. I needed answers. Now, I grabbed my keys and stormed out of the house, heading straight for Jennifer's work. I didn't even think. I just drove, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, blood roaring in my ears. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, my entire body was shaking. I marched inside, ignoring the receptionist's startled look, and slammed open the door to Jennifer's office. She was on the phone, smiling. That same fake, charming smile she always put on when she was trying to impress people. But when she saw me, the color drained from her face. "Jason?" she stammered. "What are you?" I threw my phone on her desk. The screen was still open to the video. She glanced down, and for a split second, just a flicker, I saw something in her eyes. Not guilt, not regret, annoyance. And that's when I knew. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even surprised. I leaned in, voice shaking. "You want to explain this to me, Jennifer?" She sighed, rolling her eyes like I just asked her why the dishes weren't done. "Oh my God, Jason. Are you seriously making a scene right now?" "A scene?" I choked out a bitter laugh. You are sleeping with other men on camera, and I'm the one making a scene?" She crossed her arms, glaring at me. "It's not sleeping around, Jason. It's work." My brain short-circuited. Work, work. She kept talking like she was explaining something completely reasonable, like she was bored of the conversation already. "It's just a job. I didn't cheat on you. It's professional. Professional." The word hit me like a slap to the face. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All this time, the late nights, the business trips, the random expenses that never added up, she had been doing this. Not an affair. Not a one-time mistake. An entire double life. I stared at her, barely able to form words. "How long?" She sighed dramatically. "Jason, stop being so dramatic. How long?" She rolled her eyes again. 2 years. 2 years. The world tilted. I had been married to a stranger. "You absolute." My voice cracked with rage. "You let me believe we had a real marriage, all while... I couldn't even finish the sentence. She shrugged, completely unfazed. "It's not like you were keeping me satisfied." The words hit me harder than a punch to the gut. I staggered back, gripping the edge of her desk just to stay upright. She smiled then, that smug, cruel smile I'd never seen before, but now realized had probably always been there. I just never noticed. And that's when I knew whatever this marriage was, whatever illusion I'd been living in, it was over. But I wasn't going to let her walk away clean. She had no idea what was coming next. I stood there, staring at her, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My whole body felt like it was on fire, but she looked bored. like I was just another inconvenience in her day. 2 years. 2 years of waking up beside her, trusting her, believing her bullshit. The worst part? She wasn't even trying to lie her way out of it. She just stood there, arms crossed, like I was the one being unreasonable. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. How the hell could you do this? My voice came out hoarse, barely controlled. How could you look me in the eyes every single day and pretend? Jennifer let out an exaggerated sigh and sat back in her chair. Jason, you're acting like I murdered someone. It's just work. I don't even like half the guys I film with. It's all business. I slammed my fist against her desk so hard the pens jumped. That's your excuse? It's just work? My voice rose. I didn't care that her office door was still open. I wanted people to hear. I wanted the whole damn world to know what kind of woman she really was. She flinched slightly at my outburst, but the smugness never fully left her face. Oh, grow up, she scoffed. You think you're the only guy whose wife does this? It's the 21st century, Jason. Women can do what they want with their bodies. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. Yeah? Then why the hell did you hide it from me? If it's so normal, why lie? Her lips curled into a smirk. Because you wouldn't understand. That did it. That one sentence shattered whatever tiny thread of self-control I had left. I grabbed the chair across from her desk and flung it against the wall. It hit with a loud bang, tipping over before rolling to a stop. Jennifer jumped, her eyes finally widening. Oh my God! What the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? I growled, my chest rising and falling in quick, sharp breaths. Are you serious, Jennifer? What's wrong with me? She shook her head, her eyes narrowing. You're so goddamn emotional. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You always overreact. Overreact. I was shaking now, my vision blurring with pure, unfiltered rage. You threw away our marriage, you humiliated me. You let me walk around like a goddamn idiot while the rest of the world knew what you were doing behind my back. And I'm the one overreacting. She rolled her eyes again. Oh please, no one cared. No one even knew. It's not like I was out in public bragging about it. I grabbed my phone and shoved it in her face. The video was still open. Someone knew. I spat. Mike knew. He's the one who sent this to me. And if he found out, how many others do you think already knew before I did? For the first time, I saw a flicker of something in her expression. Not guilt. Jennifer had no guilt. No, this was something else. Annoyance. Worry. Mike sent this to you? She asked slowly. I nodded, my jaw tight. She exhaled sharply, pushing her hair back from her face. Well, that's just great. Now I have to deal with that. That, not us, not our marriage. Just that. Like my pain was nothing more than an inconvenience to her. I took a step back, suddenly exhausted. I had come here demanding answers, but I had all of them now. Jennifer didn't love me. Hell, I wasn't even sure she liked me. Everything we had, the late-night talks, the laughter, the promises, it was all bullshit. She had thrown me away like garbage. And she didn't even care. I shook my head slowly. You're unbelievable. She scoffed. Oh, don't act like you're some perfect husband, Jason. You work late. You barely pay attention to me anymore. And whose fault is that? I shot back. I worked late to give us a good life. A house, vacations, everything you ever wanted. Meanwhile, you were out screwing random guys on camera. She waved a dismissive hand. Ugh. Stop being so dramatic. It's not like I was with them for free. That was it. That was the final nail in the coffin. I felt my heart turn to ice. There was nothing left to say. I straightened up, adjusting my jacket. I'm done. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. Done with what? I met her gaze, my voice eerily calm. With you. With this joke of a marriage. With wasting another second of my life on someone who doesn't deserve it. She snorted. Oh please, where are you gonna go? Back to your sad little apartment from before we met? You can't even function without me. I gave her a slow, cold smile. Watch me. Then I turned around and walked out, slamming the door behind me. I didn't stop. Not when her receptionist stared at me in shock. Not when people turned their heads in the hallway. I walked out of that building and straight to my car, my mind racing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Jennifer thought she could do whatever the hell she wanted and walk away clean. She thought I would just sit back and accept it. She had no idea what was coming. I didn't go home. Home wasn't home anymore. It was a crime scene. A place where I'd spent 2 years sleeping next to a woman who never really belonged to me. Instead, I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just let the rage guide me through the city while my knuckles turned white against the steering wheel. Jennifer thought she could humiliate me. She thought she could spit in my face and walk away, untouched. She had no idea what was coming. My phone buzzed in the passenger seat. I glanced down. I swiped to answer, still gripping the wheel with my other hand. Yeah. Jason, man, are you good? I let out a short, bitter laugh. Oh yeah, Mike, I'm fantastic. My wife is a professional mattress for hire, and I just found out today. Everything is great. Mike sighed on the other end. Shit, dude. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have sent you the video if I knew you had no idea. I thought maybe. You thought I was cool with it? I snapped. You thought I knew my wife was out there letting every Tom, Dick, and Harry film themselves having a good time with her? Look, man, I don't know. I saw the video, I recognized her, and I thought, Jason must know, right? But the way you reacted. He exhaled sharply. I figured I just dropped a bomb on you. You did? I muttered, running a hand down my face. But I'm glad you did. Silence for a moment. Then, carefully, Mike asked, what are you going to do? I stared at the road ahead, my mind already working. First, I'm getting a lawyer. Good call. But before that, I said, gripping the wheel tighter, I'm going to make sure Jennifer never forgets what she did. Mike was quiet for a few seconds. Then he let out a low chuckle. Damn, man. She really messed with the wrong guy. Huh. Yeah. I said, my voice deadly calm. She did. I parked outside a bar. One of those dark, quiet places where people went to drink their problems away without conversation. Seemed fitting. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found the one name I hadn't thought about in years. Mark Reynolds. Divorce attorney. I hit call. It rang twice before a deep voice answered. Reynolds. It's Jason Carter, I said, skipping the pleasantries. I need your help. A pause. Then, Jennifer. Yeah. Another pause. Then a slow, amused exhale. Tell me everything. And I did. Every disgusting detail. The secret videos, the lies, the way she had looked me in the eyes today without an ounce of regret. Mark listened without interrupting. When I finally finished, he simply said, I'll take care of it. That's it. I asked, You want blood, Jason? He said, his voice sharp. You'll get it. By the time I'm done, Jennifer won't even remember what a comfortable life looks like. For the first time that day, I smiled. I spent the next few days collecting every bit of dirt I could on Jennifer. Bank statements, call logs, her work contracts, everything I could get my hands on. Turns out, she wasn't just lying to me. She was lying to her employers too. Taxes? Unreported. Contracts? Broken. She was making money under the table and keeping it quiet. And that was illegal. Mark nearly whistled when I sent him the documents. Damn, Jason. You really came prepared. Make sure she pays, I told him coldly. Don't worry, he assured me. She will. A week later, I got a text from Jennifer. Jennifer, we need to talk. I stared at the screen, my lip curling. Now she wanted to talk? After ignoring my messages for days? After acting like I didn't exist? I typed back 2 words, your place. I wanted to see the look on her face when she realized just how bad she had messed up. When I arrived at our apartment, no, her apartment now, I found Jennifer waiting at the door, arms crossed, looking irritated. Finally, she snapped. You've been avoiding me. I smirked. Oh, I've been busy. She frowned. With what? I didn't answer. I just stepped inside, taking my time looking around. Everything looked the same, but it felt different. Cold. like all the love had been sucked out of the air. She huffed, closing the door behind me. Look, Jason, I don't have time for your tantrums. I just want to figure out how we're handling this. I turned to face her, my heart pounding, but my voice was steady. Oh, don't worry, Jennifer. It's already handled. She blinked. What? I pulled a folder from my jacket and dropped it onto the coffee table. Divorce papers, and some other documents. She hesitated before reaching for the folder, flipping it open. Her eyes scanned the pages, then froze. Her face went pale. I watched as her smug confidence cracked, as the realization sank in. You? She choked out, looking up at me. How did you? I shrugged. You were sloppy. She looked back down at the papers, her hands trembling. This is a joke, right? You can't actually. I can, I interrupted. And I will. She swallowed hard. Jason, we can talk about this. I tilted my head. Oh? Now you want to talk? She tried to smile, but it was weak. Come on. Don't be cruel. We were good together once, weren't we? I chuckled, shaking my head. You don't get to play that card, Jennifer. Not after everything. She stared at me, searching for some sign of weakness, some way out. But there was none. For the first time in her life, Jennifer had lost. And I had never felt better. Jennifer's hands trembled as she flipped through the documents, her eyes darting across the legal jargon like she was trying to find some kind of loophole, something to save herself. But there was nothing. She was cornered. I folded my arms, leaning against the couch, watching her unravel. Jason, she started, her voice forced into something softer, almost pleading. We don't have to do this like this. I laughed, a real sharp, bitter laugh. Like this, I echoed. Jennifer, you threw our marriage in the trash the second you decided to live a double life. Now you want to negotiate. Her jaw tightened, and just like that, the fake sympathy disappeared. Fine. You want a divorce? Then let's be fair about it. I raised an eyebrow. Fair. She sat up straighter, trying to recover her composure. Yeah, let's split things equally. I contributed to this marriage too, you know? I smirked. Oh, I know. You contributed a whole lot to your side business. The one you didn't bother paying taxes on. Jennifer's breath hitched. Bingo. She knew exactly what I was talking about. I stepped forward, lowering my voice to a deadly calm. See, I was going to settle this cleanly. Just get out and never look back. But then I started digging. And guess what I found? She stayed silent, her fingers clenching the papers in her hands. You committed fraud, Jennifer. I continued. A whole lot of it. You didn't report your income. You broke contracts. And the IRS? They're very interested in cases like yours. Her face turned ghostly white. Jason, you thought you were untouchable, huh? I shook my head, a humorless smile on my lips. You thought you could lie, cheat, and walk away without consequences. But you're about to learn something new. Her breathing turned shallow, and for the first time since I had found out about her betrayal, I saw real fear in her eyes. I leaned down, looking her dead in the face. I'm taking everything. The apartment, mine. The car, mine. You get to keep your reputation, which, judging by the internet, is already worth nothing. She let out a shaky breath. Jason, please. Please. I scoffed. That's rich coming from you. Where was this please when you were lying to my face for 2 years? She swallowed, her lips parting like she was searching for some final excuse, some last trick to save herself. But she had nothing. Jennifer had lost. And I was just getting started. Jennifer sat frozen, gripping the divorce papers like they were a live wire. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. She was cornered, and she knew it. I took my time, letting the silence stretch between us, watching her panic settle in. Then, in a last pathetic attempt to regain control, she scoffed and tossed the papers onto the coffee table. You think you're so smart, huh? Her voice was sharp, but I could hear the fear under it. You think you can just ruin me? I smirked, stepping closer. No, Jennifer. You ruined yourself. She let out a bitter laugh and stood up, arms crossed. Fine. Let's say you go through with all this divorce, lawyers, the IRS crap. Then what? You think I'll be crawling back to you? Begging for mercy? I raised an eyebrow. Crawling back to me? Jennifer, I wouldn't take you back if my life depended on it. Her face twisted with anger. Oh, please. You're just pissed because you didn't have the balls to leave me first. I chuckled. Leave you? I didn't even know who you really were until a week ago. That hit a nerve. Her jaw clenched, and she threw her hands in the air. You're acting like I did something unforgivable, so I didn't tell you. Big deal. It's not like I was out sleeping around behind your back. I felt something snap inside me. I grabbed my phone, unlocked it, and within seconds, I had pulled up the video. The one Mike sent me. The one that had shattered my entire world. I pressed play and turned the screen toward her. The second she saw it, her face drained of all color. Oh my God! Turn that off. She lunged for the phone, but I pulled it away before she could snatch it. What's wrong, Jennifer? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Don't want to see yourself in action? She turned away, rubbing her temples. Jason, this isn't. Isn't what? I cut in. Isn't real? Isn't as bad as it looks? Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty damn real. She groaned, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. This is so stupid. You're acting like some dramatic high school kid who just found out his girlfriend kissed another guy. Grow the hell up. I stared at her in disbelief. You are unbelievable. She whirled around to face me. Oh, and you're so perfect, huh? You work late. You barely paid attention to me. And you have the nerve to act like a victim? I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. So that's your excuse? That I worked too much? She crossed her arms, glaring. Yeah. Maybe if you'd been home more often, I wouldn't have needed. Needed what? I interrupted, stepping closer. Needed a side career? Needed to humiliate me? She groaned and rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Jason, you're obsessing over this. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. You know what? You're right. She blinked, caught off guard. Wait, what? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. You're not worth my energy. Not anymore. I picked up the divorce papers and thrust them toward her. Sign them. She hesitated, looking between me and the papers. Jason. Sign them. For a second, I thought she was going to refuse. But then, with a frustrated groan, she grabbed a pen off the table and scrawled her signature at the bottom of the page. She shoved them back at me. There. Happy. I folded the papers neatly and slid them into my jacket. Ecstatic. She scoffed. Yeah, right. You'll be crying about this in a month. I smirked. We'll see. With that, I turned and walked out the door without looking back. Jennifer? She was nothing to me now. I stepped out of that apartment and breathed in the night air, feeling something I hadn't in weeks. Relief. Not happiness. Not peace. Not yet. But relief. Jennifer was no longer my problem. She had signed the divorce papers, and soon, she'd be dealing with the consequences of everything she had done. But I wasn't done. She thought she was getting off easy? She thought signing a few papers erased the way she humiliated me? No. It was time for real consequences. I drove straight to Mike's place. When he opened the door, his eyes widened. Shit, man. You look like you just walked out of a war zone. I smirked. In a way, I did. He stepped aside, letting me in. The place smelled like beer and old pizza, and the TV was playing some action movie at full volume. Mike grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, tossing me one. So, what's next? Divorce is happening. But I know you. You're not just gonna walk away, are you? I took a long sip before answering. Nope. He grinned. That's what I like to hear. So what's the plan? I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. She thinks she's escaping this with nothing but a bruised ego. But I've got evidence. Bank fraud. Tax evasion. Enough to land her in serious trouble. Mike whistled. Damn. And you're gonna hand it over? I nodded. But not yet. Why? Because first, I said, my grip tightening around the bottle. I want to make sure everyone knows exactly who she is. The next morning, I put my plan into motion. Step 1, expose her. I had everything I needed. Screenshots, bank statements, the video. I packaged it all together into a nice little folder and sent it to one of those gossip sites that loved scandalous stories. Within hours, Jennifer's name was everywhere. Local woman exposed in shocking double life scandal. Wife of businessman found moonlighting in adult industry without his knowledge. Husband discovers wife's secret career, takes ultimate revenge. Her face was everywhere. I sat back and watched the chaos unfold. Social media blew up. Comments flooded in. Some people defended her. Others tore her apart. But the damage was done. Jennifer couldn't hide anymore. Step 2. Destroy her career. She thought she had options? Thought she could just walk away and keep making money in secret? Not anymore. I made sure her employers saw her unreported earnings. I made sure they knew about her broken contracts. And just like that, doors started closing. She was blacklisted. No company wanted to touch her. No platform wanted to be associated with her. Her money? Gone. Her career? Dead. Step 3, make it legal. I called Mark, my lawyer, and gave him the go-ahead. Send it. He didn't even hesitate. Already done. The IRS got every detail of her financial fraud. The penalties? Crippling. By the time she realized what was happening, it was too late. Jennifer was drowning, and there was no one left to pull her out. It wasn't long before she called me. I saw her name flash on my phone screen. I let it ring. Then she texted, Jennifer, you ruined my life. Jennifer, pick up the damn phone. Jennifer, Jason, please, we need to talk. I smirked, typing my response. Me. There's nothing left to say. I blocked her number. She was finished. A week later, I got the final update from Mark. She's completely screwed, he told me, sounding almost impressed. She has no job, no income, and now she owes the IRS more money than she's ever made. I nodded, satisfied. Good. Mark chuckled. I've seen messy divorces before, but this was surgical. You didn't just leave her, Jason. You destroyed her. I took a deep breath, staring out the window. She destroyed herself. That night, I stood outside my apartment, the one Jennifer had been kicked out of, feeling empty. I had won. I had taken everything from her. So why didn't I feel better? I should have been celebrating, throwing a party, moving on. But instead, I felt nothing. Jennifer was out of my life. But the scars she left behind? Those weren't going away anytime soon. A month passed. Jennifer was gone. Her name had become a joke online, her career was obliterated, and the IRS was closing in like a pack of hungry wolves. From what I heard, she had moved in with some friend, couch surfing, barely keeping her head above water. Meanwhile, my life should have felt like a victory lap. But it didn't. I sat alone in my apartment, the apartment that used to be ours, and stared at the blank TV screen. The silence was deafening. I had spent weeks destroying her, and now that the dust had settled, there was only one problem. I was still miserable. One evening, Mike dragged me out for drinks. You gotta snap out of it, man, he said, clinking his beer against mine. You won. She's done. Time to enjoy life again. I forced a smirk. Yeah, I should be celebrating, right? Damn right. I downed half my beer in one go, but it didn't make me feel any better. Mike sighed. Look, I get it. You spent years with her. It's not easy to just flip a switch and move on. But bro, you can't let this keep eating at you. I ran a hand through my hair. It's not about her. It's about me. I put everything I had into making her pay. But now, I don't know what to do with myself. Mike leaned back, thinking. So find something new. Focus on yourself. Hell, go out and meet someone new. I scoffed. Yeah, because that's what I need right now. He chuckled. I'm not saying dive into another relationship. But bro, you need to get laid. I rolled my eyes. Thanks for the wisdom, Dr. Phil. Mike grinned. Hey, I'm just saying. Best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. I laughed despite myself, shaking my head. You're a dumbass. But I'm right. A week later, I finally unblocked Jennifer's number. I wasn't reaching out. I just wanted to see what she had tried to send me. The messages were pathetic. Jennifer, Jason, I messed up. Please just talk to me. Jennifer, you don't have to forgive me, but you don't have to destroy me either. Jennifer, they're taking everything. I have nowhere to go. Jennifer, please. I stared at the messages for a long time. Then I typed my response. Me, not my problem. And I blocked her again. That was the last time I ever spoke to Jennifer. One night, I was sitting at a bar when I felt someone slide onto the stool next to me. Buying drinks for strangers? Or do I have to win you over first? I turned to see a woman. Dark hair, playful smirk, eyes full of mischief. I chuckled. That depends. You good at winning people over? She grinned. Guess you'll have to find out. And just like that, something shifted. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about Jennifer. I wasn't thinking about revenge, or betrayal, or everything I had lost. I was just living. And damn, did it feel good. I woke up one morning with the weight of the past finally beginning to loosen its grip on me. The chaos I had orchestrated against Jennifer, once a burning need for revenge, now left behind a hollow victory. I was left staring into a mirror that reflected not a triumphant avenger, but a man whose soul had been battered and scarred by betrayal. The days that followed were filled with an unsettling calm. I returned to my routine, yet the memories of those turbulent months clung to me like ghosts. The apartment, now entirely mine, still echoed with the remnants of a life that had once been shared. Every creak in the floor, every whisper of the wind against the window, reminded me of a woman who had been both my love and my undoing. I found myself questioning, was it truly justice to dismantle her life so utterly? Or had I, in my quest for retribution, lost pieces of myself along the way? In the weeks after severing all ties with Jennifer, I sought solace in the simplicity of self-care. I began taking long walks along the city streets at dawn, the world bathed in the gentle glow of a rising sun. During these walks, I allowed my thoughts to wander freely, confronting the raw emotions of anger, sadness, and, surprisingly, regret. I realized that although I had exacted a heavy toll on Jennifer, exposing her lies, dismantling her career, and shattering her financial stability, the void inside me remained. It wasn't filled by her downfall. It was a deeper pain that stemmed from the loss of trust and the collapse of a life I once believed in. I started writing again. Not angry rants or vengeful declarations, but honest reflections of my inner turmoil. I scribbled down memories of times when Jennifer and I laughed together, moments when the world seemed bright with possibility. Those recollections, now tinged with bitter irony, served as painful reminders of what I had sacrificed for love. As much as I despised her for the betrayal, I couldn't help but mourn the dreams that had turned to ash. One particularly crisp autumn evening, as I sat in a small cafe near the park, I overheard a conversation at the next table. Two strangers were discussing the transient nature of relationships and how sometimes the very act of letting go was the only way to truly move forward. Their words resonated deeply within me, echoing the internal struggle I had been battling. Maybe, I thought, the only way to heal is to accept that some wounds are too deep to ever fully mend, but that doesn't mean I have to be defined by them. It was in that moment I resolved to seek professional help, a therapist who could guide me through the labyrinth of my emotions. In our sessions, I began to unpack the layers of betrayal and self-loathing. I learned that forgiveness, sometimes, isn't about absolving the other person of their sins, but about releasing oneself from the chains of perpetual bitterness. My therapist, a calm and empathetic woman named Michelle, urged me to consider that perhaps Jennifer's actions were a symptom of her own unresolved issues, and that my own healing lay in understanding my vulnerability rather than wallowing in anger. Slowly, I began to rebuild. I reconnected with old friends and made an effort to let new experiences seep into my life. I started playing basketball again, something I had long abandoned in the wake of the marital storm. Each time I dribbled the ball on the cracked pavement of a neighborhood court, I felt a little more of the rigidity in my chest ease away. I met new people, learned to laugh at myself, and even allowed my heart to cautiously flirt with the possibility of love again, this time with boundaries firmly in place. At times, the remnants of that bitter chapter would surge back unexpectedly. A familiar song on the radio, a scent in the air, or a casual comment from a friend. In those moments, I would close my eyes, take a deep breath, and remind myself that the past, as painful as it was, had taught me invaluable lessons about trust, self-respect, and the complexity of human nature. I learned that revenge, no matter how satisfying in the moment, could never fill the void left by genuine connection and understanding. One evening, as I sat on the balcony watching the city lights flicker like distant memories, I composed a final entry in my journal. I wrote about the journey from the devastating shock of betrayal to the arduous process of self-discovery. I acknowledged that while I had once been driven by the need to see Jennifer fall, I was now more interested in rising above the wreckage of what we once had. I realized that my life was my own, and that the power to shape it was not determined by someone else's treachery, but by my own ability to let go and move forward. I ended that entry with a quiet note of thanks, to the pain that had forced me to look within myself, to the friends who had stood by me when everything else had crumbled, and even to Jennifer, for inadvertently opening my eyes to the importance of self-worth and genuine connection. I knew that my scars would remain, reminders of the past, but they no longer defined me. I was free to forge a future built not on revenge or sorrow, but on the hard-won lessons of resilience and hope. As I closed the journal and looked up at the star-studded sky, I whispered a final farewell to the man I had once been, a man consumed by anger and despair. In his place was someone who had learned to live with his pain, who had embraced both the beauty and the tragedy of life. And though the journey ahead was uncertain, I stepped forward with cautious optimism, ready to write the next chapter of my life. This time, one defined by redemption rather than ruin.